I've got John with me, also known as John, the generative AI engineer on X. And John, I've been watching you build a ton of cool apps and automations on X. So I was like, hey, dude, you want to come record a live build? And then just yesterday, you posted this tweet, and I'll read it here. It says, feels illegal to hit publish. 1,000 pages live in 5 seconds with programmatic SEO. The stack was Astro Build, Supabase, Bolt.new, 0 writers, 0 copy paste, build once, scale forever. So of course, when I saw this, I was like, holy crap, dude, can you please show me how you did this? And now we're here today. So John, thank you for joining me. Do you want to give a quick background on what programmatic SEO is and why someone would want to use it?
Yeah, for sure, man. First of all, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. So Programmatic SEO, or PSEO as some of us call it, is a kind of marketing strategy that persons use to rank on Google. So anytime anyone goes on Google search and they type in, let's say for instance, the word rage room or like restaurants near me, right? The articles that come up are there because they're ranking on Google because the person's searching. So what we want to do using programmatic SEO, we want to get to the front page of Google. Right. So the idea is that using Rage Room is that we're going to attack the keywords that come after that. So let's say, for instance, you want to look at Rage Rooms in Boston, in San Francisco, in Jamaica, right? So we're going to be tackling the long tail keywords, and we want to rank on Google for that in order to get free traffic from Google in order to, sell a product, run ads on it, and just increase our revenue overall.
Yeah, totally. And someone that could use this is one, directories, right? So if you're doing like a Rage Room directory and you wanted to rank in all the different cities. Also, if you offer a service that's done nationwide, right? So let's say you're a marketing agency and you want to do like marketing in different cities. You could say marketing in Boston, marketing in Los Angeles. And I think the real downside to programmatic SEO is like, if you were to do all this by hand and create, in your example, 1,000 pages, like that's going to take you weeks, months, like years to actually generate those. The way that you've done it with AI is saving all that time and automatically doing it.
Yeah, 100%. Like I could never fathom creating all those articles on my own, man. That would be insane. Like,
yeah,
because like even right now on one of the same platform I was working on, like imagine writing by hand 1,000 articles. That's ridiculous, man.
Insane. Yeah, impossible unless you're, it's your full-time thing or you wanted to hire someone to specifically do it. If someone is listening or watching right now, if they stay till the end to watch this entire thing, what can they expect to learn from our conversation today?
They're going to learn how to build a really good looking website in Bolt.new and how to get a copious amount of articles onto that Bolt.new website so that they can rank on Google and perhaps make some money from it.
Beautiful, beautiful. And what tools are we going to be using today? I know you said Bolt. Are there any other ones?
Yeah. So we're going to be using Bolt, Supabase, and if Bolt is unable to do some debugging, we're going to touch on Cursor a bit, because I found that when I was building out my own website that I was doing the other day when I showed you the tweet, Bolt was unable to capture a lot of the subtle nuances, and I had to switch over to Cursor, something much more robust. So it just depends.
Yeah, totally. Awesome, man. Well, you want to jump into it? We can start building.
Let's go.
Let's do it.
So we're on Bolt.new, and a lot of the times, I mean, this can be for non-technical users. I know that this can sometimes be jarring, especially if you have no experience building any kind of building any kind of websites or having any interactions with these AI editor tools. So I actually beforehand went ahead and created a custom GPT where somebody can just input in an image and they get out a already pre-templatized prompt that they could use in order to just create a really good looking website based on the websites that I've created before. So we need an image, right? So the best place to get images online right now is Dribbble. So let's go Dribbble. Let's do a Dribbble gym. So I was looking up gyms before. Perfect. So you can find a gym on Dribbble.
For anyone that doesn't know what Dribbble is, it's basically like a lookbook of different websites, right? So you can say like, hey, I want to see, in this instance, I want to see gym websites for inspiration, or agency websites, or e-commerce websites, right? So like, there's always the blank page problem of like, okay, I kind of know what I want on this, but like you need inspiration. So that's why someone would come to Dribbble, right?
Yeah, 100%. This is why I come to Dribbble, because I'm more of a Python guy, right? So I would just prefer just to easily just get something that looks good already and then move on to the platform. So I'm going to use this as our base. So the idea that I had was that we're going to be creating a mixed martial arts gym's website. I do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and my academy doesn't have a website. So it's a great opportunity to showcase how different niches could dabble into this PSEO, right? So we're going to be creating a gym for Ruthless Sports Academy. So let's copy this image and we paste it in here. I'll share this tab. Great. So you can say the name of the gym is Ruthless Sports Academy. We are located within Jamaica. Great. So let's keep the color scheme the same. We can adjust this minor issues. All right, so we click send on this now. And what's that going to do is going to use the ChatGPT's image, and then it's just going to create a prompt for us. So we got two to select from here.
Sweet. So basically what it's doing is it's looking at the screenshot you gave it, and it's going to give you the prompts that you can then take, so that you don't have to come up with like, this is a long prompt and it has like a lot of different details in it, right? So this just saved us 15 minutes of writing description.
Exactly, right. Writing it our own selves again would have been another little process. So we can now just go down and, okay, I prefer response. You select it. So now what I would do if I were like, sitting down and building our client project, I would go through and make sure this is more relevant to the client. I just copy and stuff, but just for this demo, I'm just going to copy paste it back directly into Bolt. So we go here, we copy this, we'll move back into Bolt and we paste this right in. And one caveat is that you definitely want to ensure we need to add that image that we had before and say, follow the image attached closely, right? So there we go. Oh wait, let me actually mention that this will be a this will a website. There we go. I always have to make mention of what we're doing as well.
Perfect. So you just told it that hey, like I'm planning on building this out as a programmatic SEO website.
Yeah, definitely. I found that just by telling it exactly what your objectives are works like a charm. So I've told it, not only to follow the aesthetics of the image that we've given it, but also, including the fact that we're building a programmatic SEO website. Because what you find is that if you don't tell it as a programmatic SEO website, sometimes it'll give you a lot of AI slop in the URL generation, etc. So we'll definitely go ahead and ensure that that's not the case as well.
Awesome. So it's building basically the website from scratch right now. Okay. So this is going to be our full front ends, but not our back ends yet, right?
No. We're going to have to connect that separately in the integrations. And I made a slight mistake. I forgot to mention that it should be using Astro. So Astro is a very, very amazing framework for web development where it allows us to build out these programmatic SEO websites at scale very easily, because they actually comes inbuilt with allowing us to create and generate these content websites using the Astro framework. If anything, we may have to restart this prompt, but we'll see if we don't have to create a new one. Let's see.
If you didn't say that, it's probably just going to build it with like HTML, right?
Yeah, Next.js. It's just going to use whatever, like whatever it defaults to. It's just going to use whatever. So let me see. We may have to restart. Actually, as a matter of fact, let me copy this just in case. So while that does its thing, it depends. So now let me see what it does, because we may have to restart a new chat. Just in case. Let's just go ahead and start a new chat. Ensure that that's in there. PSEO website using the Astro framework. Using Astro. Okay, good. Great. So it's going in ahead with Astro now, which is good. Yeah, that's definitely what we want.
Yeah, I think that was good to see, because if somebody started building it out and didn't put that up front, it's going to be a total headache for me, right?
That would be a nightmare to get that up and running. But I mean we didn't even attach the image, but I have no doubt because of Bolt's recent update, they had an amazing update where they're just the UIs that are coming out generally tend to look good. So let's see what it comes up with for us in this instance. So just to talk more about how we're going to get the PSEO up and running. So beforehand, I had went ahead and found this large data set of jobs. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be creating a PSEO on different jobs. So the idea is it's going to be simple. It's going to be how to balance MMA as a dash, and the dash is going to be like the job that you have. So it's going to be how to balance MMA as a waitress, how to balance MMA as a just to show a quick example, right? So we're going to be using Supabase to put all of our data from that clean, massive job list on there. And then we're just going to go from there to create a bunch of articles using that data, that job list data.
That's so interesting. Yeah. I mean, the possibilities are endless, right? Like the obvious one is to say, you know, how to do Brazilian jiu-jitsu or mixed martial arts in Boston or in Los Angeles, right? Like location's obvious, but yeah, there's so many different things that you could put a spin on, right? Or generate all these different blog articles that people are searching for.
Man, it extends so far because you could even do newsletter. We could code, you know, like we're doing here now, right? We could code, you could do newsletters. Anything written can be done by AI now, you know, largely, especially programmatically, where it's like, it's kind of the same, but with like a few subtle differences. Excellent.
You could also look at this as just a start, right? So if you put up 1,000 web pages, like it may be that 900 of them get 0 impressions and 0 clicks, but like those top 100 that are actually showing signs of life, then you could go in those specific ones and manually rewrite that post or like mess with the keywords and like put some time into it. But like just as like a V1, it's just putting out all these articles. This is pretty crazy.
No, this is insane because you can then, what's cool about this is that you can iterate really fast. Because now, like when this is finished, we're gonna have a website up already. It's gonna show us a preview in a second here. So it's largely finished now. All we have to do now is just say, give it like a small tweak. Say, okay, we want this article page now. There it is. There it is.
Good looking site.
Already, just like that. Let's get this. Can we get this big screen? Yeah, look at that.
Oh yeah,
just like that. What was that? Well, we talked for like what, 3 minutes? Yeah. Oh wow, I didn't even tell it to do this. It's pretty cool.
Whole team.
Jeez.
Upcoming.
Look at a format, footer. Yeah, there it is. So now let's select the nav bar and say, hey, some modifications. So what I'm doing here now is that I'm prompting it in a way that we can be very specific on what we want. So not only have I selected it, but I'm letting you know like what I want change, right? So I usually start with Markdown because every single AI, large language model rather, knows and understands Markdown, right? So I'm telling it to modify. So I want it to remove overlook, let's remove cycle. Let's remove cycle, not necessary. Cycle, and then we can say articles. And we can go in and we say articles. So we can say so we can generate a card-based article view of generate a card-based article view. Cards should contain title, a description, and a image. Use whatever images you have. Just for this demo, we're not going to include any images because that would be, we'd have to go all out for doing images as well, because we'd have to involve generative AI perhaps, or scraping images. Just keeping it simple using just the title as well as the description for it as well.
Okay, so basically you're building out the pages that are going to serve as our template for programmatic SEO, right? So these are all going to have like a variable in it. So in the backend database, it'll say like, here's the title, put this title here. Here's the description, put the description here.
Yeah. So while that builds out and getting us our new pages, we can actually touch base on that, right? So what I've actually done as well is that I've also went ahead and created another GPT that allows users to give in the top 5 rows in their data set and just like some generic questions they'll ask you, right? You can then generate a PSEO template on your data so you can get some ideas. So it's dropped in the data set that I cleaned up from before. Drop in jobs clean. So,
and where do you go find databases like this?
So funny enough, this was just publicly available on GitHub.
Okay.
Yeah, it was actually just readily available on GitHub. So I was like, oh, this is great. Otherwise from that, I don't tend to use data sources largely because with tools like Cursor, Windsurf, you can now give it a website and start talking back and forth with them, being like, hey, I want to web scrape this, and that. How can we achieve this? And it just does the code largely for you. So at this point, you don't even need to pay for any kind of like external APIs, anything too crazy. Like you can just get it yourself.
Yeah, AI is getting pretty crazy where it will go out and scrape stuff for you. I've found with like ChatGPT, it will work. You kind of have to bully it a little bit. Like, hey, you didn't do it right. You missed some. Like, try again. but you could get it to do it. You could also use tools like Outscraper, which are pretty cheap if you want to like scrape Google Maps data and whatnot.
It's actually funny you talk about that because I recently found a Python library called AgentQL, completely free. You can actually scrape Google Maps with them. Like they allow you just to go through and call like a lot of data from them. So you definitely, if anyone who's watching this or yourself, you could check that out to enrich. Because just as we're having this example here, is talking like jobs in city waitresses. So you want to enrich that data with Google Maps information for sure would be great.
Yep, totally. Lots of different ways to scrape data these days.
Yeah. So I'm gonna prompt it now. I only want a generic template using the job titles. Yeah. Let's see what it can give us. Jobs, waitress, great. Yeah. Okay. So let's give it a bit more context because it doesn't know what we're doing right now. So building this.
And so is this building the template for the actual web page?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
We're gonna put this back into Bolt and be like, hey, for the articles, this is what we're gonna be using as our template, and we're gonna be filling the information from Supabase.
Got it.
So we're gonna get now much more. We're just saying building for MMA website, right? Great. This is perfect. Looking to break into MMA as a waitress.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Random, but it works. It works.
Yeah.
So all right, let's go. So let's just use this then. There we go. So let's see what Bolt has done for us in the meantime. Great. So Bolt's finished. We now have articles. Click on read more and nothing happens. Okay. I have to prompt it again. So what I like to do whenever it doesn't really understand, I tell it the current issue and then I tell it what it's supposed to do. If this was like something much more larger, like a client project, I would go into like going as deep as this is the user flow. This is what I want the user flow to be. This is what user flow is now. This is the gap, and just go all in. But for this, we're gonna say currently the article page is not leading to the article. So that's gonna do for us now. We're just gonna be able to just create like a separate page so we can put our articles on that one for sure. I can just load up the other prompt in there in the meantime.
Okay, so this is where you're giving it the article essentially template that it's going to use for every page.
Yep, this is it right here. And make sure that went in successfully. Yeah. So right now what's in it is just mock data. And this is the information that it generated on its own. So we're going to be fixing that now with real data. Slowly but sure. There's this. There we go. So let's get the prompt going. So modification. So let's actually do more of a addition instead. So we can say above is a SEO template that we will be using to generate content across many pages. I have a data set of 1,000 job titles, which I want to use. So that's gonna go and it's gonna do its thing. So now we're gonna have to start getting into the Supabase side of stuff, because now what we need to do is that we need to get our database up and running so it can fetch this information. And fingers crossed, maybe it's just the call. It need the good vibes from this call. It needed to work in one shot. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Because we'll see. So once this is finished, we'll start getting into setting up the database and going from there.
Yep, sending good vibes. I know. It's like sometimes it could totally do everything, like just one shot, and then other times it's like, hey, it's gonna take 50 prompts to get this like one little thing to work.
Man, it's so crazy sometimes. I'll select my project and stuff. All right, let's go. Create a new project. All right, let's call this one, I don't know. Let's call this Ruthless Academy. Let's create a quick one. Let's create a quick password, create a project. Also, it should be noted that Supabase unfortunately only carries 2 free projects in your entire database. So unfortunate.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but to be honest, that's pretty awesome, right? Like, it's a free database that you could use, and they give you up to 2, so you could figure out ways to get around that.
Okay, cool. So it's doing its thing. So while it does its thing, we're gonna head over to the Ruthless database that it created for us here. I'm gonna talk a little bit about getting information in it, right? So we're gonna create a new table. We're gonna call this job list. Let's call it job titles. I think that's better. Job titles. It's a bit more relevant to us. I imported it from a CSV. Let's browse my files.
Go on with desktop. There you go. Clean job data. Great. No primary key. So left to this method. Just the primary key.
Okay, so you got 4,000 rows in here. So we got a lot of data. And you could also have other variables in there as well. So like job title, then you could say, I don't know, key responsibilities, things like that, so that you could add in additional variables.
Yeah. Just gotta ensure that we got all of this stuff. 2 pages. Kind of weird. Because now it's saying updated both files. That's so interesting because pages. So hold on. If we search MMA hyphen jobs hyphen, what was a job here? Like big ass. Yeah, that's so funny. Called them with that. Root that's gonna contain all of our generated articles, just doing the same thing inside of the articles page. So that's why we're having the issues. Since this is the name, it's latching on there. So I'm just trying these articles from that. Call this page flaw. Let's call it something different. Call this page flaw. Showcase all of our data from this dynamic route. Would be funny. Publish the job articles and let's create a new page. Okay. If anything, we can at least now we know that we're onto something here, and now we can just step back to this exact position in case that we. So at least now we know there's a pivot up.
So in a case like this, do you ever say like, hey, create a log of everything, or like, here's the situation, can you help me figure it out?
Yeah, usually at this point, for me, I start getting into the mind frame of I'm gonna move over to cursor. That's what I normally do. So if after a while, I just kind of shift over because I find that a lot of the times when I'm prompting and it's getting to this point, I just cursor. It's so much easier. So I'm gonna try a few more times, and if not, if it just doesn't work, how am I really expecting it to? We'll just move over to cursor.
Okay. All right, so we're back. You've done a lot of debugging, but it seems like we have something that's ready to go now.
Yeah, we finally do. Huge face palm to me. I totally forgot. The code was fine. Like everything was okay. I just forgot to enable like RLS policies, like to give read access from the Supabase. Like even when I pulled up cursor, I was like, "What is going on?" Like I did this like yesterday. I was like, "What is going on?" And I was like, "Right, forgot the most basic thing."
That's good to know. So yeah, so what exactly did you do there in case people run into that?
Yeah. So this was such a simple thing, right? So I'm gonna share my Supabase real quick. So what was happening was that when we're pulling data from Supabase, you need to give certain policies, authorization policies for that Supabase, for that table on that Supabase. So the issue was that I didn't have any auth policies on my table. So anytime any data was being pulled from Supabase, it was just like, no, nothing was happening. So once I prompted Bolt to be like, hey, I'm not sure you guys modify our table's RSL policy to allow read access, immediately all of the articles popped up, like immediately,
Just like that.
every single one, just like that. So there it is. Now we have a lot of documents, man.
Okay, awesome. So walk me through where we're at now with the website and what it looks like.
Yeah, we're using Bolt.new. We created a complete website, front end stuff. It's not feature rich at the moment because we haven't given it any kind of implementation, but overall the UI is finished. And for getting across like a very simple MVP version like 0 or 0.1, extremely quick to iterate and just get up something really fast. So we have this, and we also have a lot of blogs. So if you go back to the blogs, there's no pagination on it. So right now it's showing every single article, right? And we would also have to dive in a bit deeper in order to customize each page. But honestly, as a start and to start getting ranking, this is a perfect place to start. Like with a few more prompts, we could just easily have each article pop out now once you click read more as a modal, and users can read it and go on from there. And then within that, you can start advertising your services as Ruthless Sports Academy or whatever business you run for that matter.
Incredible. So you have 4,000 something blog posts here now.
Yeah, just like that.
And they all have a different title with a
And
different job title.
most beautiful thing about this is that because of the fact that all of them have different blog titles, all of them have different H1 elements, it's not counted as duplicate content within the search. So you actually won't get flagged by Google for spam. So that's actually the most beautiful thing about programmatic SEO, is that you won't get flagged. Even though it's slightly similar, but it's still counted as different content, which is pretty cool.
Awesome. And so let's say someone got to this point, maybe there's some more stuff they want to do with adding additional, features or content to each of the web pages. But from here, you could go on to deploy the site, right? And then from there, you'd want to submit these pages to Google to index. Is that correct?
Yeah. So if you want to do that, I would recommend at that point, I would highly recommend, because it worked for me in the past, to whip out like Cursor, the Windsurf. You could even take out their free trial. It's not, I would say it wouldn't take that many credits to accomplish, but for sure generating a sitemap in order to submitting these pages to Google so it can understand that these pages even exist on your website. I would highly recommend individuals to check out Cursor, Windsurf, any kind of IDE in order to generate a sitemap and submit that sitemap to Google in order so you can start ranking in the search engine.
Beautiful. I love it, John. Anything else you want to leave it with here?
No, this is largely it, man. I'm gonna definitely take some time and fix up more and show my coach and be like, hey man, look what I built for you in an afternoon.
Yeah, you might as well. Where can people find you?
People can find me. I am on X every day, almost like all the time. John Does Coding. You can find me there. That's where I'll be at, man.
And I can attest to that, because yes, you are building some cool stuff on X, and I'm having fun watching it. So go check them out on X. I appreciate you jumping on here. We walked through how to build a whole programmatic SEO site using Bolt, using Supabase, and how you can basically get started right now. It literally within like an hour of coding and debugging, and hopefully less now because John just told you what the debugging would be. You can have thousands of pages up on Google ranking for different programmatic keywords. So appreciate you, John, and I'll wrap there.
Yeah, man. Nick, thank you so much for having me on.